bigger concern should be, what does God think of you, and what do you think of you? And y'all haven't seen nothing every day till this day, okay? Blessings are chasing me down to overtake my life in every if God said what he said type of year. Don't be afraid of making mistakes. Don't be afraid of people talking about you, because they're going to talk about you, okay? Hey besties, we are back. It is time for another episode of Brunch with Bree, the podcast. If you have been keeping up, if you're subscribed, then you already know that we are over on Instagram at Brunch with Bree Pod, and we have a website, brunchwithbree.com, where we're giving you updates on webinars, resources, freebies, our meet and greets, and our live events will be popping up very soon. So make sure you go ahead and subscribe to our newsletter on our website. Now, make sure you have tuned in to our last episode, how to identify your why in entrepreneurship, because we're going to do two things today. Today, we're brunching together with our girls, and we are going to talk about our why. If you've been following us on the gram and heard the last episode, then you already know that we have been working on pinpointing our why and bringing some clarity into why we are entrepreneurs and why we have begun our business. So go ahead and check that last episode out. And in that episode, we downloaded the why worksheet from brunchwithbree.com, and I want to share my answers, as I told you guys, on this worksheet. And some of the reasons why I've gone into business were talked about on the previous episode, but I just wanted to read you guys what I wrote down about the things in my life that are super important to me and are some of the reasons why I do what I do. So on the why worksheet, one of the first things to do are to write your life's non-negotiables in the box. So in the box, I wrote peace, joy, sound mind, health, stability for my family, to create generational wealth. That's a big thing for me, and generational wealth in the sense of knowledge. I really want to pass down information to the generations behind me, to pass down knowledge, financial literacy, tools, not just money, but all of those necessary things in between. But in big, bold letters, I put to be who God called me to be. That is a non-negotiable in my life. And the second question, or the second task on this worksheet, was to list the problems your business resolves for others. And then you were to list the reasons you are starting your business and compare. Do the reasons you are starting your business compare with your life's non-negotiables? And in what way do they compare? Do they match? Are they similar? Are there some differences? Are they not aligned at all? Are they completely different? I really wanted entrepreneurs to do a self-analysis on their life's non-negotiables and on their business ventures. So there's that. So let me know on Instagram what you guys have found. Let me know in the comments. Leave a comment. If you're listening on iTunes, leave us a review in the comments specifically about the why worksheet and this task, and how it has helped you pinpoint what you want to accomplish, what you want to achieve, how you want to walk in your purpose through business. If you've discovered your purpose in this, we definitely want to know. You can also message us on Instagram at Brunch with Bree, the podcast, Brunch with Bree Pod on Instagram. Let us know. Let us know what you guys found out. But those are the major things in my life that are definitely non negotiables. And my business helps me to do all of that. And the number one reason why I do what I do, well, I can't categorize them. It's very hard to put them in numbers. The first is to be who God called me to be, but also my business helps other women empower their brands and their business to do the same for their families, to create that generational wealth, to pass on that knowledge, to do all of these things. So my reasonings and my non-negotiables match up, and it kind of makes my heart smile, if that makes any sense. And I absolutely love what I do, and I'm grateful that you guys tune in every week to me doing what I do. And I appreciate you guys for listening, and I'm glad that you're part of the community and that you are all besties, girl. Thank you so much for your faithful listens all over the world. I truly appreciate you guys so, so much. And now we can jump in to today's topic. If you are an entrepreneur and you haven't started yet, don't worry. We're gonna walk through the business basics this season, and season 3, our business basics season. But today we are going to talk about what the number one reason is. The top reason people never start their business. So we've done a heart check. We figured out what it is, more or less, that we value, that we hold dear to us, and that we're passionate about, and why we do what we do, and who it is for, and who it is to help. But then there's the part about getting started. And a lot of people have these wonderful ideas, and I know it is easier said than done to start, but a lot of people don't get started, and a lot of people pass on that opportunity for a myriad of reasons. And the top reason that I found, that can be broken down into subcategories, but the number one reason that I found people never start their business is fear. That's a big one. Fear is a big one, and we're going to talk about that. Make sure you go on over to the blog, brunchwithbree.com, and check out our blog post on this topic as well. But we're talking about fear. We're combating that today. We're going to kick that down because it's 2020, y'all, and ain't nobody got time for that, okay? So don't let this be you. If you have a great idea, if you're passionate about something, if you know that you're supposed to do something else and be who God created you to be, and there's something bigger, go ahead and do that. Don't let fear bind you. Don't let fear be the reason why you never accomplish all that there is for you to accomplish. It is the beginning of a new decade, and the possibilities are endless. As long as you put in the work, you can do it, girl. So I gave you guys a bit of my history, um, bits and pieces in the podcast, and throughout my working career, I've sat side by side by people in the office building, in the cubicle, the break room, the elevator, and you hear all the thoughts and visions and conversations that people just have. And I've heard a lot over time, a lot of the dreams of my coworkers. And in these conversations, people discuss what they always wanted to do in life or wish they could have done in their lives pertaining to their own dreams and their own passions, and turning it into a business. And the conversation stops there. I haven't heard a lot of conversations outside of the entrepreneur group or space, or those who are already doing it. But in corporate America, I've heard people say, from the horse's mouth, all of their dreams and visions that they never did, or they wish they shoulda, coulda, woulda. And in speaking to those individuals, the common denominator was fear. A 4-letter word, fear. And fear is so crippling. Fear is the highest ranking record. Okay, fear is the highest ranking record on the Hot Business Billboard development charts. Okay, if you know how there's the music, Billboard awards, and all that stuff, fear is number one. Okay, fear is the single that keeps people imprisoned. The reason why people never start their dreams. And the Bible tells us, as a man thinks in his heart, so is he. So if you're afraid to be all that you can be, that really can be stagnating for a lot of people. And it shows itself in different ways. Whatever we believe to be true controls our movements, our progression, or our lack thereof. But here's the tricky thing about fear. Fear itself has no power. Fear itself has no power, but can motivate our choices if we relinquish our authority over to it. So in order for fear to work and actually keep us crippled, we have to give our authority to fear. We have to give up our own control and our own authority and give it to fear. And that is when we allow fear to control us. And sometimes it's subconscious, but recognizing it is the first step to overcoming. And one of the ways that fear shows itself is in self-doubt. Many entrepreneurs have yet to birth their visions or realize their full potential because they are afraid they are unqualified. And if you guys listen to me on the radio, I actually did speak about being unqualified when God calls you to do something that is far beyond our thoughts, because his ways are not our ways. But if you know that you are called to do something and you have gifts and talents that are beyond you, don't worry about your qualifications. A lot of the time we stop ourselves. We stop our own progression because we feel that we are not adequate enough. Besties, yes, it is me, Bree, interrupting this episode to let you guys know that we officially have a website. So excited about it. If you haven't heard, if you haven't been paying attention, girl, stay with it, okay? Brunchwithbree.com is live and in living color right now. Go ahead and subscribe. It's where you're going to get blogs on our podcast topics. You're going to get notifications on freebies, courses, webinars, meet and greets, and live events. You don't want to miss a thing. Go ahead and sign up for our newsletter at brunchwithbree.com. Back to the show. As a society, we have been trained to put our value and our self-worth in our accolades and in money. A lot of our society makes the mistake of putting statue before anything else. And that is why a lot of us stop ourselves. We've all been there. We've all been, doubting ourselves, saying, oh, I can't do that. How can I do that? And what's really funny is that fear distracts us. It creates this false scenario in front of us, and we pump the brakes and we stop ourselves. even as kids, we're kind of taught, oh, you can be anything that you want to be when you grow up, and then all these adults tell us these things, and this is how I think about it. All the adults tell us you can be whatever you want. Sure, you want to be an astronaut when you grow up. Absolutely, you want to be the president. Okay, when you grow up, and we know that's true. You can be the president when you grow up. You can be all these different things when you grow up. The sky is the limit. And then the same adults that tell us that are the same adults that put those same limits on us. And we believe them. If you say you want to be a race car driver when you're 3 years old, but if you get on your bike or get in your Hot Wheel and you go too fast, oh no, you can't go too fast, slow down. I'm using extreme examples, by the way, but you can't go too fast, slow down. You can't do that. There's no way. And then when you turn 16 and you go to get your driver's license or your permit, and your parents say, well, I'm not sure that you're ready to do that. I don't want you to do that. It's too dangerous. It's not safe. Then go ahead. When you turn 18, you want to borrow the car. You want to buy a new car. No, can't buy a new car. And I'm using the extreme example of this because we believe the truths or the fears that someone else puts on us and projects onto us. And a lot of the times that's what the enemy tries to do. When I say the enemy, I mean Satan, Lucifer. He tries to plant these little seeds in our mind, these little seeds of self-doubt. And you say, well, you know what? I can't drive fast. You know what? It is too scary. You know what? That is too far of a jump. That is too high of a reach. And we trick ourselves into this self-doubt and we don't do it. So that's one of the ways that fear shows up in our lives. There's also fear of the haters. Yeah. Fear of the haters. Many of us spend way too much time concerned with what other people will think of us, about what other people think of our passions, about what we do with our time, with our lives. And I mean the type of time that really keeps you up at night, second guessing, instead of stepping out on faith. The bigger concern should not be the fear of living up to someone else's expectations. The bigger concern should be, what does God think of you and what do you think of you? And make sure those match. Don't let other people's projections and concerns weigh you down and stagnate you. Then there is the fear of failure. And failure is hard. Failure is really hard. It's really hard to step out there and then fall flat on your face. It happens to a lot of us. It might happen in entrepreneurship several times. Okay? You will fail personally and in your business. Just on a personal note, if you don't know my backstory, I became a mom really, really young, guys. According to quote unquote societal standards, I became a mom. I got pregnant at 17, had my daughter at 18 years old, and I thought I failed. At that point in time in my life, that was the hardest failure that I thought that I would ever experience, because that's what society told me. Society told me at that time, oh, you're a teen mom, you're not going to finish your education. Oh, you're a teen mom, you're not going to go to college. You're going to live on welfare. You're going to, not that anything's wrong with that. If you need it, you need extra help, you need help, but that's all you'll ever amount to. That's all you'll ever measure up to, because on paper, I was a statistic. And if I had been concerned with what society said I was and who society said I was, I wouldn't be here today. I wouldn't have made it where I've made it by the grace of God. I wouldn't be talking to you on this mic because of the fear of my own success, because of fear of what others thought of me. It just wouldn't be possible. I would have been trapped in that. I would have been a statistic because I was afraid to be something else and to do something different. So you can't let fear limit you. And the last way that I want to talk about fear shows up is fear of the unknown. Fear of not knowing what comes next is very, very real. Fear of not knowing what's next is a very real thing. We are human, we have needs, and security is one of them. Security is a very big thing for me, as I discussed earlier. That is one of the non-negotiables on my list. But not knowing what comes next or what can happen, it's kind of trippy. It's kind of trippy, and entrepreneurship is one of the most unstable environments that one can voluntarily put themselves in, because every month, every day, every week can look completely different. Okay. But learning to shift our focus from what we don't know and place it on what we do know, which is our why, helps us get through the fear of the unknown. Why did we even think to start a business in the first place? Why are we doing what we do? I'm sure this outweighs any thought on what is to come. So here are a few things that we can do about fear, because I don't want this whole podcast episode just to be some monologue about this 4-letter word that has no power in itself. And what we're not going to do in 2020 is lead our lives with fear. So here are some of my go-to scriptures when I'm dealing with false evidence appearing real. Joshua 1:9. Have I not commanded you? Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid. Do not be discouraged, for the Lord your God will be with you wherever you go. And I apply this in my personal life, and I apply this in my business life. Psalms 34:4. I sought the Lord and he answered me. He delivered me from all of my fears. And I will be putting these scriptures up on brunchwithbree.com. So go ahead and check out the podcast. Go ahead and check out the blog episode that matches this podcast for the resources on how to overcome fear. 2 Timothy 1:7, for God has not given us the spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of a sound mind. And Psalms 94:19, when anxiety was great within me, your consultation brought me joy. So when you're dealing with fear and you're being stagnant and you're not sure if you should jump into your destiny, into your purpose through business, remember these scriptures. Remember who you are. Remember who you are in God. Remember your why. Remember your non-negotiables in life. And remember what you're passionate about and what you thoroughly enjoy. And that will knock fear to the side and cast fear out, along with applying the word of God to that same fear, because ain't nobody got time for that, okay? Not today, Satan. So that's not what we doing in 2020. We don't have time. I'm sorry. I don't have time. Fear was left back in 2019. I don't have the budget for it. Sorry. It's not the budget. Can't make it. And that has been our podcast episode for today. Thank you for brunching with me, guys. We will see you in the next episode. We're going to start getting into the nitty-gritty of business development and business planning very soon. So make sure you are subscribed to Brunch with Bree, the podcast, wherever you listen. Available now on Apple, Google Play, Spotify, Stitcher, and iHeartRadio. We will see you guys later. Bye.